Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Marvel Jacob. Not a figure review, obviously, but I'm gonna be talking about The Walking Dead Season 4 finale entitled A. Now, I know this premiered a couple weeks ago, March 30th to be exact, March 31st in the UK. Uh, I know I'm a little late on it, but I was a little busy with certain other things going on in my life, other shows or just personal things, and I knew I had to get this out eventually, one way or the other, because I did say I would be doing it. I promised it. Here it is. I'm not sure how many of you will completely like what I have to say right here, but it's my opinion. Now, The Walking Dead is still probably my favorite TV show of all time overall, I guess. But I don't think this is really the best season finale we've had. Before I get into that, I'm going to talk about the parts that I actually did like a lot. Obviously, the part a lot of people are talking about is when. Okay, well, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you've seen the episode and you're all caught up and you're familiar with everyone's names and things like that. So, spoilers if you haven't seen it yet for some reason, and you're still watching this video for some reason. But anyway, a lot of people have been talking about the part with Joe's group finally catching up to Rick, Michonne, and Carl. Along with Daryl. Well, Daryl was with Joe's group, and they caught up to him pointing a gun to Rick's head, and then there's this fatter guy that looked like he was trying to. I don't know what word I want to use for it. Molest Carl, maybe. Probably rape Carl, and then Rick ends up doing like a back headbutt to the Joe behind him, and that causes Joe to misfire, and then Joe gets Rick in this little bear hug. I don't know what it is, but I don't know why I tried to hold Rick down like that, but Rick ends up biting down on Joe's neck, and like you see the blood squirt out, and it kills Joe, and yeah, I guess that was a pretty memorable part from the comic books when they came across the Marauders or something. And then Rick says he's mine with blood all over his face and beard, and he walks over to the guy who's trying to mess with Carl, and then he stabs him a few times with a knife. Quite a few repeatedly, which the guy definitely deserved. And so that part was really cool. It was brutal, but really, really awesome to see. Uh, oh yeah, and of course Daryl tried to defend the group before any violence went down. He said, Rick, Michonne, Carl, they're good people, and when Joe said oh, they're good people. Well, he just killed one of our guys. Remember that house in an earlier episode during the season. Rick strangled the guy in the bathroom. And then another memorable part from the episode that came right after that would have to be when Rick and Daryl were sitting against the car the morning after, I think, and Rick calling Daryl his brother, saying he didn't blame him for being with that group or anything like that, and and Daryl contrastingly understood why Rick did what he had to do to Joe and things like that. So that was a really nice moment. It does show that they have formed a pretty strong bond as the series has gone on for the past couple of years. Oh, which is really nice. It was a nice moment, touching. But yeah, and then I think then they start all heading to Terminus together. You see, I got the episode up on the wiki here, so I'm probably not going to forget anything I actually want to talk about here. And anyway, people talking outside my room, but anyway. Then eventually they do get to Terminus, but they don't head right up the tracks. They go through the woods and up to the fence, one of the sides of the fences, which is smart because they don't want to walk right into it like Glenn, Maggie, Bob, Sasha, Abraham, and Tara, and the rest of them probably did. Well, they don't know that yet, but so they go in there. Then you see the old lady. She says, "Terminus, arrive, survive," or I forget exactly what she would be saying, but the recording you'd hear over the radio. That's pretty weird. But then you meet Gareth, I guess the head or leader of the group at Terminus. He seems pretty nice and welcoming, and then eventually they get out to the courtyard, the area that Glenn's group came across in an episode ago or so, and then they're gonna make them all a plate to eat, Then that's when Rick notices a few things. Let's see. Well, for one of the guys had the riot gear from the prison that Glenn was wearing, and Eugene, but Rick remembers Glenn wearing it. And then there's I think there was a poncho that Maggie had that someone was wearing, and then I think the Gareth's second in command there, I forget his name, but he had Glenn's stopwatch that Herschel gave to him. Then Rick grabbed the guy and pulled a gun and said, "Where did you get that?" or "Where are our people?" or something like that. And then there's the snipers on the roof, and Rick avoids it, but the guy who's holding it shot, and they start running, and at first you think they're just really bad shots because they're shooting all around him, but then you realize that they were shooting at, like they were purposely missing so they could push him and have him go in the direction they wanted him to go for the trap or something like that, or an ambush point. And then eventually they run for a while, and then one thing I noticed is when they were running, Rick ran past a little fenced off area, and I think I seen some human remains there or something. Little bones, maybe some flesh, I'm not sure. But I think it was something along those lines. And they hear other people screaming too. Then eventually they get to that ambush point, like I said, then there's a whole bunch of Gareth's men on the fence, and then there's a lot on the roof, and they're basically just surrounded. And so Gareth tells them all to get in this train car, and first he calls Rick the ringleader. Rick goes in. Then he calls Daryl the archer. He goes in the train car, and then he calls Michonne the samurai. She goes in, and they leave Carl. And at first I thought they were gonna shoot Carl anyway here, but they let Carl go into the train car with them. And they close the train car door, and that's when you see Glenn's group. Glenn, Tara, Maggie, Bob, Sasha, Abraham, Rosita, Eugene. I said Tara, didn't I? Yeah. And not sure if I forgot anyone or not, but they're all already in there. And Glenn's surprised to see Rick and things like that. And so they're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" And Rick's like, "Oh, they're gonna be pretty stupid when they find out." And Abraham's like, "Find out what?" And Rick's like, "They're screwing with the wrong people." And the camera cuts to black, and that's where the season ends for us. I don't know if I really like that line very much. I mean, I know it's kind of pulled from the comic books, again, when they're at the same point in the comics, or something similar to it anyway. I'm pretty sure in the comics they said they're effing with the wrong people, or something like that. I'm not sure how much I should curse on the videos on YouTube, but you get my point. That's what they said in the comics, but they kind of took that line from the comics and put it in the TV show. I'm not really sure about how I feel about that part. I mean, I like the scene leading up to it, them being cornered and all the guns aimed on them, that was pretty intense. But I don't think the screwing with the wrong people line really fit. I didn't really think it fit with the intensity of the scene before it. Thought it was a little cheesy, but it was alright. I could get past it, I guess. This doesn't seem like something Rick would say after a situation like that, especially, but I'll get past it. I have gotten past it, but still. Oh yeah, and one part I forgot to mention was before they headed into Terminus over the fence. Uh, Michonne and Carl's conversation, and Michonne telling Carl about her son and how she went out, and then she came back and found her son and her boyfriend and his friend either dead or infected or something like that, and how she, how her boyfriend and his friend were the two walkers he seen her with at the beginning, And then then Michonne telling Carl that he doesn't have to be afraid of Rick or her or anyone, and then Carl saying, I'm not what Rick thinks I am, and I'm not what my dad thinks I am. I'm not brave, I'm not a man, things like that. I'm not as good as he thinks I am, basically. And then he says I'm a monster. And then, there's maybe a little bit of tear shedding, and they hug, and that was a pretty touching moment, kind of like the Daryl and Rick moment that we got a little bit earlier in the episode, which was a really nice moment, both of them. Okay, so that basically goes over what I really wanted to talk about in the finale. Like I said, it wasn't really my favorite season finale we've gotten from The Walking Dead. I'd say it was probably better than the season 3 finale. Probably because I don't think Andrea should have died right there, and because the prison battle was kind of a letdown in the season 3 finale, so it's probably better than the season 3 finale, but not better than the season 2 finale, and probably on the same level, if not a little bit worse than the season 1 finale to me, personally. But, it wasn't a bad episode, definitely not. I mean, there were worse episodes in the season. Like, still, the one with Daryl and Beth, that one wasn't that great. but I'd say the 8th episode of season 4, the mid-season finale, Too Far Gone, definitely felt like more of a season finale than A did. Because we got that huge prison battle, we got the spoilers deaths of the governor and Herschel, huge fight, between Rick and the governor. It definitely felt like more of a final episode of a season than A did, for sure. But still not a bad episode. I was just a little let down. I guess I feel like the bar is set a little bit higher when it comes to The Walking Dead and their big episodes like this, but still not a bad episode, and I'll definitely be tuning in for season 5 in October. Like I said, I probably won't be reviewing every episode, but I'll probably review the mid-season and the finale, things like that. Possibly a couple discussion videos about certain things. I don't know. Just depends. So that pretty much does it for this one, guys, and I'll catch you later. You'll probably see me do a Being Human series finale review, and might get a video of me talking about Game of Thrones too. But for now, that's it, and peace.